be. It's going down in a few more seconds. Relentlessly Real Podcast. Let's go.
What's up, fam? It's your boy, Dr. Mike, and it's almost that time to get real, raw, and relatable. Looking forward to talking to y'all soon. Peace.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Terrence. Welcome back to another season of Relentlessly Real Podcast. So excited to have you all back. We got a lot of great stuff. Check us out.
You're now listening to The Real.
Man, I appreciate them dudes for talking about
The Raw.
Wait, they were talking about
The Relatable.
That's exactly what I've been going through.
The Relentlessly Real Podcast.
All right.
Yo.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Relentlessly Real Podcast, where we discuss real, raw, and relatable topics. Thank you for taking time to listen to our podcast today. Let's kick this off with some introductions. My name is John.
My name's Mike.
And I am Terrence.
I was about to say the same thing.
Yeah, I'm so used to him going after Mike. So actually Terrence is going to be on in a few, I believe. He had some technical difficulties with his computer. This is something that is rather common, becoming rather common. I don't know what's going on, but we're going to have lay hands on his computer.
Yeah,
and
oil in a second.
Yeah, see what's going on, making sure he's all good and in terms of his setup there. But I just wanted to say, hey, I think Mike and I just want to say hi. Yeah.
Hey guys,
good to see you.
Hey.
Feel free once you hop in on the podcast to just go ahead and say hello back to us, because we love to engage with you once you're on here. So we're gonna just give it some time. But as we do that, we want to hop right into some questions for the day. So I actually want to jump ahead because I have what's funny, Mike, I got a couple of questions today. It's almost like I was prepared for this situation. But I have a couple of questions of the day today, and I'm excited to discuss as we deliberate about this. So my first question of the day is this, and it's actually a question that stemmed from a question I had with Jovita earlier. Is your kid decides they want to have sex prior to getting married? Who do you think should talk to them about it if someone like whether you had sex before marriage or if your spouse waited or vice versa? So who should be the one to discuss sex before marriage with the child?
That's wild, because that's me and Renee's situation. She waited, but I didn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it needs to be both, one at a time though. So I don't think it needs to be together. Reason why I say that is because I know I can experience this with Renee sometimes. Like when we're on a united front, but yet with different opinions, it can look like we're on two different sides of the fence. And now, once we leave the conversation, I'm afraid our child will be like, well, y'all done gave me both sides, and now I still gotta figure this out. You know what I'm saying? So
right. Yeah.
I think with hearing it from each other. Oh, yo, Terrence, you here?
What up?
I don't know if he knows he's here. Hey, Terrence, how are you? Welcome to the podcast. Okay, well, good to see you.
Welcome.
You hopped in at a great time, Terrence. Thank you for showing up to work on time, as always. We wanted to add. Mike was in the middle of answering this question, but one of the questions of the day, because I have a couple I'm excited about. Your kid decides they want to have sex prior to getting married. Who do you think should talk to them about it? The person that has had sex before marriage, or the person who has not had sex before marriage?
Yeah. So
Okay, I'm gonna make finish.
Gotcha. He's like, what?
Calm down. All
yeah,
right.
yeah. So I was saying both, but not at the same time. I think they need to. There needs to be some sense of trust in the sense of like, hey, and transparency between me and my child in that moment, and even with Renee as the mom. Like, they need to have that separate time together, a level of transparency to be able to talk to one another. It's not that we can't talk on a united front, but I feel like it just it gives a different level of, I guess, intimacy, if you will, like when
Yeah.
we're having that type of conversation, and it doesn't feel like a 2-on-1 type of combo. It feels like, yo, like you're really like hearing me out type thing, and it's just a 1-on-1 type situation. And even if we did have different opinions about it, let's have that conversation separately, so it doesn't feel like we're ganging up on her, or like feel like we're kind of forced to try to find the same answer or whatever like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just so they can have an option, right? Like give them the two options, to do two viewpoints. We're obviously both going to come from a point of, because we're Christian, we're pushing for the whole, save yourself for marriage, or wait till after you are married to have sex. But yeah, man, I think both need to do it.
Got it.
Both. Yeah.
What say ye, T, about this particular topic?
I mean, are we assuming that one person didn't?
Yeah, the question is assuming, yeah. So one person didn't. You didn't get a chance to hear that part. So one person didn't have sex before marriage. One person did. Who's the one that should be talking about the conversation of sex with the kid? The one that did have sex before marriage, or the one that didn't, or both?
I definitely think it's both, because I think each one has a different lens. Like one can come from why I waited or why I chose not to. The other one can come from why I chose to and why I think you shouldn't or why I think you should. I think that's, and I think that's, to me, I think that's true even outside of any kind of religious background you have. I think that is an important. It's always important to have different viewpoints or something like that. That's that serious that you got to make a decision about.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of imagine what that conversation would be like, or at least try to prep myself now. You know what I'm saying? Even if it was, whether it's my own kids, whether it's my god kids, whether it's, my nieces, nephew, whatever. Like I try to prep myself to be like, yo, what is that convo going to look like?
Sure.
And staying in my stance of like wait, but also understanding like, hey man, like if you're going to do this, please be safe. You know what I'm saying? Like put those type of aspects out there. Like if you're going to do this, at least like let them know about like condoms and safe sex and stuff like that.
Right.
I know we've talked about this before in the past about like how the church doesn't necessarily address sex before marriage in a way of like, hey, like safely talking about it, right? It's always a, don't do this before before you get married type thing. But okay, what do I do with the thoughts? What do I do with these desires and intentions and stuff like that? Like, what do I do with all of that right now? Like, let's safely have that conversation. And we need to start having it more, man. I'm just reiterating stuff that we talked about before. We need to have that convo a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the lens that I was speaking from, because I'm seeing Darlene say I'm a mom of two girls, and I think she's about to go in as being a mom of two girls, but that's cool. That was the perspective, of course, that we were talking about.
Yeah.
My wife and I, because I was like, yo, we got two daughters. I just we don't even know how we brought it up. We just started talking about it, but I was like, yeah. I mean, I feel like because I had the experience of having sex, I have a different perspective prior to marriage than she did.
Yeah.
So, I think that if my daughter is coming to either of us and saying, hey, I want to have sex before marriage, I will probably be able to provide better context because I went that route. Right. I think the preserving yourself and waiting is a route that is not the route she's looking to have a lens on or understanding about, but you can still provide that, obviously, to give a well-rounded answer. But I still think that the weightier answer is, I wouldn't, because you need to know why you wouldn't have sex before marriage, because somebody that did actually go through and had sex before marriage. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that was my lens about it. I just was interested to know what the podcast people felt about it, because I think it also varies if it's a girl to guy, or guy to girl, or guy to guy. Like that conversation happens differently depending on whether it's a son or a daughter. And I think Terrence would have had that lens better understood than me. Terrence, you don't have nothing. You good on that?
No, I said I agree. Yeah, I think it does
Okay.
depend on
Yeah.
gender.
No.
Gender is important.
Gender is important. So I want to know. Quick question. This is another question of the day. How much could they pay you to do something like this? Right here. They're backing up. This is all on a bridge, by the way.
Oh wow. Oh.
I was nervous the entire time. I'm not even gonna hold you.
Right now.
As I was watching that video, and if you're driving in your car right now, basically the video has somebody inching their way through a bridge, trying to go and reverse and backwards on a very, very tight bridge, and
they're
not
trying to
fall
do
off
a
the bridge.
3-point turn on a really tight bridge.
Exactly.
You pay off my student loans, I'll do it.
You need student loans paid off for that.
Yeah, I'll do it.
I feel like I don't need as much to be able to do something like that. I feel like I would do that for less. What about? I mean, is there student loans?
Is it your car?
It's not my car.
Okay.
This is Terrence's car.
I do it less inside John's car. Yeah, sure.
This is Terrence's car. I'll do it for $2.
Let me borrow Mike's car right now, Mike. Right now, like I'll do it. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. So I'm sorry. Thank you, Darlene. She provided perspective on the last question. She said this is a hard topic, but I'm realistic. I had sex at 14, and then she went on to say for the first time, and I don't want for my girls at all. I never had the convo with my mom or dad, and was taken advantage of by 16 by a young man. Wow, that is
you know what's so interesting. So Mike and John, I'm glad Darlene said this because I really want to do an investigation. How old were you, and how old was the girl who took your virginity?
Please go to mommy. I can't. I'm on a podcast. Take her to mommy, please. Take her. I'm sorry.
How old were you?
I'm sorry, y'all. I have kids. Take her to
Darlene brought up a good point. How old were you?
Yeah.
And how old was the girl who you lost your virginity with?
How old was I?
Yes. How old were you, and how old was the girl?
I was.
I'm about to say you know all this, but go ahead, Mike.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I don't know how old she is.
I was 14. She was 13, and I was a virgin, and she was not. Yeah. Crazy.
She was knocking him down early. No, I'm sorry.
So, and the crazy story is like as kids, we talking amongst our guy friends, and like, I'm sitting here not trying to let people know that I'm a virgin, but like when guys start talking about, oh, they did this to this girl, that to that girl, most of the time we all lying, but lying. We all lying, especially at that age.
Definitely lying.
So when I was introduced to this girl, we were talking for a few months, and I think Valentine's Day it came up, and she had mentioned like, hey, so what would you like for Valentine's Day? And I was like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, give me like teddy bear and some chocolate. Like I like chocolate. That's cool. And she was like, you want to have sex? And I was like, yeah.
Throw the chocolates in the trash. He threw the chocolates in the trash so quick.
But the whole time I'm nervous as crap, but I'm like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm good with that. That's cool too. Yeah, let's do that. I have no idea what I'm about to get into, man.
Sure.
But the fact that she offered that in the sense of like, I don't even think I got to a point of asking her like, yo, have you done this before or whatever like that, until like the very moment right before. I was like, trying to, get the condom on, all of the other stuff. And she basically like knew what time it was. And I actually asked her afterwards. I was like, yo, was that your like first time? She was like, nah, I've been having sex since I was 12. And I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, like
jeez, I'm sorry, that took the air out of my balloon. I was not ready for that.
So okay, so put this into perspective, right? So my nieces are older than 12. My nephew just turned 13, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, yo, like I remember being that age when all of this stuff was going down, and that scares the crap out of me for the young generation, man. And that was back before I had that type of exposure that they have now in reference to like technology advancements and stuff like that. Like we, back in the day, we had to sneak our uncle's collection or something like that of like porn tapes or whatever, or we had to, we wait until after 1 a.m., 2 a.m. to watch BET Uncut type situation. You know what I'm saying? Like we didn't have access to that stuff, but nowadays they do. And I can only imagine the type of things because of that exposure, like
what it means, what it yields. Yeah. I think well, one, I was 18 when I gave up, so my partner I think was also 18, but she wasn't a virgin. I was a virgin at 18.
And so and that's my point. That's where I was trying to get to. It dawned on me thinking about this, and I actually want to talk to like some other guys because my theory was I wonder how many guys lost it to an older woman, and even if it's not an older woman, how many guys lost it? Like I don't know how many guys have lost it to a woman who like literally lost it to a woman who was, at least if she wasn't older in age, she was older in experience. Mine was older in age and experience. That definitely was not her first rodeo. Like at all. And so I don't know how many she had before me, but it was very clear she was just like, like what's the hold up? Like let's like,
what's up? Right.
What's up. So I was listening to Darlene's comment about, taking advantage of, and I'm like, I mean, I don't know how many men would say she took advantage of me, but I'm thinking as I'm analyzing, I'm like, legit, I didn't ask for it, nor was I expecting it, nor did I require it. She pressed it. She literally pressed it, like to the point where, like, when we said, if you need to go back and watch our very first episode on the podcast, we talked about this. The point where it didn't even matter where we were. Like, no, we're
and he mentions this in the first episode
like,
as well.
You're about to get it outside where, like, because that's how bad, whatever it is. Like, we're gonna do this.
Wow.
So I'm like, fast forward. I got taken advantage of because I wasn't pressing it.
Right. You weren't. I
wasn't looking for it. Now I didn't say no, but I still had no idea what I was getting into. And
I think that's more the point too, right? Like, I'm sorry, it was episode 2. Was she worth it? That particular podcast was discussed. But I mean, it's the bottom line is when we're talking about this conversation of sex in any capacity, and this wasn't supposed to be a weightier topic than it ended up being, honestly. But the reality is that like she just said, like Darlene just said, is that the school is talking about it. And we talked about this in a couple episodes as well. They're talking about 5th grade. They're introducing the topics to the kids. So who do you want to provide the first lens on sex? Your institution or you, right? And who was the person like that opens that door first? Or so and yes, man, social media, because social media creates a whole new dynamic that I don't think any of us are and were ready for, because the school was the first issue. Now you're talking about another layer of social media where TikTok videos, and think about how much TikTok videos are assaulting our own ideologies and thought processes as we look at them and try to reframe the idea of like men identity, women's identity, their value, implicit value, a high value man. All these things kind of came from social media that we never, we had no sense of before. And now they just are in our face and we're inundated with all this information all the time. It's interesting how much different things are now.
Yeah, man, it's crazy because I'm thinking I did have that conversation, I guess, in school, 5th grade. They had like a sex education class, and I remember like my folks, like kudos to Darlene, because I remember my folks having that conversation with me to kind of double down on what I learned. They asked questions, even though they weren't there with me. They asked questions like, "So what did you learn?" Okay, cool. Just to kind of like do a checks and balances type thing to make sure like things were being taught in a way that is like correct and in a way where it's pleasing in their sight, where it's like, okay, you're actually learning what you're supposed to learn about this thing, and like opening up that door for us to be able to like just have that convo. But again, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, like I'm thinking about it, but I'm like, I wouldn't dare go down that route until, hey, somebody came at me with the experience, and then peer pressure and all that other crap came into play, and here we are. So
what's interesting about this conversation though is that I also agree with you, Mike, where you say kudos to Darlene on bringing it up. And I'm sorry, I just noticed Terrence's name was Tired and not Tequila. But he is tired AF. Okay. But the one thing I was going to say though, was that the influence that happens though is more so on the kids. If we remember how we were when we were in 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade. So even if your parents, and I'm not trying to say, Darlene, that you don't have impact on your child, but I'm just being realistic too about how I remember my life being when I was 5th grade and 6th grade, and how I thought my friends were their lens was, what their approach was, mattered way more, was way more weightier than what my parents would say about any topic, because they were my peer group. I thought they knew it all. I thought I knew it all, right? So those things kind of lead to the decision makings that we make as young people. So it's interesting. The trajectory has changed now with social media. I just think a lot of conversations had to happen earlier, only because of what we put in front of our kids. Because like Darlene was just saying, my daughter's not on social media, right? She's only 4 years old. But on YouTube, if she goes to YouTube, which she did at one point, they're giving it in the commercials. They're giving it, and even the kids sections of YouTube Kids. Javita had to turn off one YouTube thing because they were cursing in there and all that stuff. So to try to protect the
kids
lens,
section of YouTube,
not the kids section, but the regular one. But it was a kids like clip.
Yeah,
it wasn't like it was like. So you wouldn't know. You wouldn't have known unless you were literally like, an adult, right? And the kid, my daughter doesn't even know that that's a bad word because she has never heard the words, right? So we put the value on the words too, right? So all of those things are colored differently, and I get that it's crazy, but I feel like we have to have those conversations first and be the ones to lead those conversations as the parents, and maybe earlier than we thought. That's all I'm trying to say.
Facts.
I
agree.
I wanted to, because this particular one that I wanted to show you guys, and to lighten the mood even, because it's actually feeling rather heavy, rather early. There's this guy. I don't know if you have ever heard of him, but I'm so excited for you guys to check this person out. Here we go.
Hey Mack, I'm making content for my YouTube. Could I do a freestyle for you guys? What's up? Okay, no. So somebody give me a random word. Dinner. Ooh. Hell yeah. Let's start with that. Yeah. Hey yo, I said live in the cypher, we keep shit bumping. He pulled out his cam and said, show me something. Save the blue ribbon for my rhymes, cause I be the winner. I'ma feast on these rappers, I'ma eat them up for dinner. H-Mack, man, y'all know I always been the great. I got a whack rapper's head on my dinner plate. It's H-Mack, man, y'all know I'm about to feast. When they be coming deliveries right off at the top of the dome, I'm a beast. Listen, when I'm spitting, man, I'm living out my true dreams. Okay. Shout my man in the purple and orange Supreme. It's H-Mack, I'm the #1 rhymer. I properly align ya. He be rocking that designer. H-Mack, I make it happen and they all go mad. From Earth to Saturn, I display more patterns than plaid. You want the real freestyles? Well, we can go there. As soon as I start spitting, people pop up out of nowhere. Wanna beat the Mackin' off top, but dog, it can't be done. Cause in the game of rapping, Harry Mack a fucking champion. Yeah, I'm about to smoke the mic just like a Newport. Rapping for the city, we gon' bring the vibes to New York. Anywhere we at, y'all know I'm about to close in. And like this zipper right here, my brain's open. It's H-Mack, man, I'm never gonna stop. Known for grabbing the mic and spitting clever off top. Yeah, hey yo, these rappers, man, they making me barf. Ironically, my flow's so cold, you gon' need you a scarf. H-Mack, I break it down. I got them off the head moves. They can feel my flavors from head top to the red shoes. Anywhere we at, rappers know I'm striking them. Good for your health, like the water with the vitamins. Yeah, y'all know that I'm making it happen. Crazy when rapping in the game, y'all know we majorly stacking. They quit in front of me, I show you what it's gonna be. I'm trying to be like 50 Cent and own this fucking company. H-Mack, I'm getting paper, y'all know it keeps coming. When they be coming to rhythm right over the metal, you know that it feels like I'm drumming. I'm getting it dizzy, I'm leaving them dizzy. Whenever I'm on it, I'm keeping it honest. And when I be getting the mic in my palms, y'all know I'm keeping it just like a promise. H-Mack, I'm just enhancing with facts. When I rock shows, everyone be dancing like that. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yo.
That was
This
actually
guy-
really good.
This guy is a freaking monster. His name is Harry Mack. And if you go on TikTok, he is destroying. I mean, absolutely destroying the game. And I was sitting here like, hold on, who's this guy? Like I'm literally, and so what's also made me really feel like, I'm like, yo, this is crazy that somebody can have this ability to rap this good and nobody cares. Like he doesn't have 50 million followers. He doesn't have 100 million followers. He's like 2 million, right? And he just literally, just so you guys properly understand what this guy does, he goes around and raps, and he'll just say one. Yeah, no, it is a freestyle, baby. And I'll prove it to you. So he'll go around, and it'll be topics, right? So he'll ask them to choose a word. They choose a word. He'll do it in the middle of the rap. He'll do it literally as it's happening, or before the rap, and he'll just literally add the word. So let's say the word is grape. He'll say grape throughout the rap somewhere, and he'll say and then another word. He'll ask them, he'll ask them for different, and it'll be different themes. They don't have to be connected at all. Like that's just the way he does it. So I just was like, man. So it made me really think, like, T, do you want to go ahead and start your career right here and now? Breaking news on Relentlessly Real Podcast, where you start and do your. You're not today.
Nah, it's not mine.
I got the word to use. We should use tired.
Creative.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's your first word, creative.
I'm good.
Honestly, I can't even rhyme with creative. I'm like native. I'm like, I have nothing. So I don't have that gift. But it just was really mind blowing to me to see this happen. One thing that I also wanted to highlight was my guy, Lawrence O'Donnell. He highlighted something earlier this week, and I wanted to do it because it was something that was pertinent to the shooting that took place last weekend. And here's what he says.
The police had every legal right to shoot him.
Let me start it over. Here we go.
The murderer is alive tonight. The police had every legal right to shoot him on sight with a gun in his hand when they cornered him in the store. But they talked him into dropping his gun to the floor, and then they arrested him. One of those police officers had been on the street with the unarmed 18-year-old Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. Maybe Michael Brown would be alive tonight. For some reason, unarmed black teenagers and men seem more likely to be shot and killed by police than white supremacist teenage mass murderers with guns in their hands.
Yeah. So I thought that was a very interesting and related point to the mass murder that occurred last weekend. And we've talked about it a little bit here on this podcast, where there's this disproportionate attempt to save lives of white men and kill lives of black men. And obviously, you guys, if you're already aware of the shooting that took place at the supermarket where 10 were left dead. And they did not. I think the guy even put the gun to his head at one point. But either way, they made every attempt, or seemingly every attempt, or every effort to make sure the guy walked away unscathed. And in handcuffs, and went to his trial. But even the shooting that took place, we're not even really going to talk about much, but we're going to at least graze the topic. The shooting that took place at the school, was that yesterday or the day before yesterday? Yesterday.
Yeah.
The guy, I believe it was a Hispanic guy. That's what I've been hearing. I haven't even.
Hispanic 18-year-old.
Hispanic 18-year-old goes and shoots his grandmother, from what I understand. Who's able to pull out and pause and make it. Hopefully it's gonna make it, but then goes to the elementary school and shoots, and I think he killed about 18 total people before his life was also lost as well. And so as a parent, I had a conversation with Javita about this, which is this idea that it's getting realer, or more real, I should say, for us. Like, I think before. I know before I didn't think much of it. I knew it was happening, and if I'm honest, I didn't take myself emotionally there, right? Like where the shootings would happen and occur, and I didn't take myself emotionally there. But this time, I will admit, and I was like, man, this is not okay. And I put myself literally in the shoes of those parents. I put myself in the shoes of those loved ones that were around, the parents that said, this person, my child, is no longer on earth, right? And you just can't be so crass to not even go there mentally. You got to kind of think about, like, man, these people are like they're really, something's really wrong with this world for someone to go and just shoot people. They have no idea, no reason, no nothing. They just kill them.
Yeah.
And it just it hit my world. I want to at least bring it to y'all world,
Yeah. What's interesting, so I felt like I was underneath a rock yesterday just because of the type of work that I do. And the type of issues that I was experiencing at work, I didn't have any type of access to like news outlets or anything, right? Like even my phone at the time, I didn't have access to it. So, I'm going about my day thinking everything's all cool. And, I get home, I talk to my wife a little bit, whatever. And I think it was legit, like in the middle of a conversation of us like planning for this podcast today. Terrence, you had mentioned something briefly about it. I was like, wait, what? And I started Googling. I was like, oh my God, like, dude, we literally just got through another like one mass shooting. I think it was like what was that, last week?
Yeah, in Buffalo.
Yeah, that was last week, week before, whatever. But now here we are again, and this time, kids, man. I just my heart hurts, man. My heart hurts for the families. My heart hurts for every person involved in that. The people that had to witness that, the people that have to, no parent wants to bury their kid, but before their time type thing. So it's horrible, man. Even personally, like experiencing a death in the family due to gun violence. 20 years old, man. He'll be 21 in June, and it's just been a rough week, man. It's been a rough few weeks.
Yeah.
And if we could just have a moment of silence for everybody right now. Let's take that for a second. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's horrible, man. Our prayers and stuff go out to the families involved in all of this, and I pray that our leadership in this country does something, man, because enough is enough. We've recognized, and I'm not even saying like increase gun laws or anything like that. Like something needs to happen because the violence is not going to go away if you increase gun laws. In my opinion, I don't think that's going to happen. That's just my viewpoint on it. People will still find ways to find weapons to go out there and do whatever they want to do to their heart's content, unfortunately. So I feel like something else needs to happen, man. Somebody needs to come up with a way to address the mental health illness that's going on with people that drives people to do these type of things. It needs to be something else, man. We got to all come together and figure it out. Yeah.
I think the issue for me, see, I'm so divided. Like I am an advocate for stricter gun laws. I think the age, that like the most of the age of these mass shooters are younger and younger and younger, which is problematic for me. They're not at a, I think the issue with this one, this was a assault rifle. And if most people don't know, in most states, an assault rifle is just a walk-in, sign and leave weapon. You don't need, you don't need some. And even in the most strictest states, even like Maryland, I only need a license and to carry a handgun, and I need training, and there's a waiting period for a handgun, but there's no waiting period for an assault rifle. And so, I think stuff like that, it makes me say, I don't know how I feel about that. That I can walk in the store, buy an assault rifle, go to YouTube, figure out how to customize it, and go out there and do something right in the moment of just me being like not mentally like very volatile. While somebody who's older, there might be a little bit more of, like a little pushback. Like even if I just go off stages of development, like an 18-year-old is just, they don't know. And so
they still trying to figure it out.
Yeah. And they react differently when I'm upset, like versus 18 versus, and we hope makes sense in most cases. That's not always true. Like, so I see the other side of that coin. That's not always true, whatever it is. But I said, like, I think the other day, I had an incident in my school the other day. Boy got into a conflict playing football during like recess. And they tackled him too hard. He got upset, had some words with the boy. He was in my office. I said, "Hey, what's going on?" He's like, "Nah, I'm good." Like, I said, "You want to talk about it?" Like, I said, "Nah." I write my statement. Okay, cool, right? Check with him later that evening. He's like, Mr. Robinson, I'm cool. I can go back to class. I said, you sure? Because you sure? He's like, yeah, he's fine. Next day, he brought a knife to school.
Mm.
And so, like, I was able to, like, his friends did the right thing, saying, Mr. Robinson such has a knife. We're not trying to snitch, but, you know, like, he got a knife. Makes sense. And so,
yeah,
you know, like having to step in and ask him, hey, yeah, you got something you're not supposed to have. He's like, yeah, he pulled it. He showed me that. He's like, I found it on the bus. You ain't found it on the bus. It's like makes sense. And I'm like, what I want to
tell him that? You told him you didn't find it on the bus?
I told him he ain't found no bus. You can try to lie to me like I'm born last night. You thought the boy was going like, you know, they would talking, we're gonna see you in the bathroom. But my mindset is he has no intention on stabbing this boy.
Yeah.
What his mindset was on
Protecting
is that
himself.
I got this. It makes it just in case.
Just in case it goes
but
left.
the access of having it, you know, and then when you get upset, you don't know what you do when you're upset.
Yeah.
And so your entire life is just ruined. Like
it's so funny because I remember those moments. You know, I remember I was actually about to get jumped in Suitland, like when I was going to Suitland. Like I remember vividly that, you know, what happened was, and it's funny now, but it wasn't funny then, is that I was walking through the halls and somebody had like kind of pushed me into a guy. And the guy I got pushed into, I accidentally, wasn't on purpose, but my arm had touched his butt, right? See, I told you you're not mature enough.
The story is not funny. It's just funny.
It's not funny because it actually turned left so quick.
Yeah, he was ready to turn up.
Man, I touched, and this is kind of a good pivot, I guess, but this is not a moment where people, you know, were okay with people touching people's butts, right? Like that's he was very much who touched my butt, and I was the only one like, oh, I'm here, it's just me. You know?
Say no, I wasn't me.
Nigga, I didn't say it was me. I'm just standing there. I'm like, oh shoot, and I'm in ninth grade, my first year.
Oh yeah,
and so I am, you know, and I was the geek, boy. I had my violin. I was the geek. Okay, I was not the guy you see here today. All right, so I'm walking with my violin, like, oh my. Yeah, he's like, I am going to beat the tar out of this black boy with a violin. He was gonna beat me with the violin after it was all said and done. So I go into the bathroom and he comes to the joke and he's about, like, I could tell he's about to start swinging on me. Like, and another guy come in too. And so I so happened that I had a guy that I was cool with that was in the band. He was like, no, it ain't going down like that, and stopped it right before it all went down. That was the only thing that saved me. I was about to get beat, right? So
man, shout out to your friend. Shout out to your friend in high school, bro.
You have a violin. You got a weapon literally right there.
Listen, my mind didn't even work that way. Okay. I was like, this is my violin. I just need to play it. I gotta play it only. I can't use it as a weapon.
He was like, I'm not violin right there. Like, just don't break a violin. Like,
no. Listen, brother, why do we don't have to fight? What song do you want to hear? I can play whatever song you want to hear. Right now, you can get whatever you like. I'm like, I can do whatever song.
Yo, if I'm
gonna play that violin like I don't know what.
And
okay,
saw a bullying incident, and so I walked in and saw a guy playing a song for somebody else, and asked why. He told me he played this song. He's gonna beat my ass.
He told me if I don't play that thong, he gonna beat me.
I don't even know how to process this.
I went right to it. I went right to the thong.
The level of bullying that has just transpired, like,
went right to the thong song. Yo, there was I'm sorry, this made me think of this. I was listening to Kevin Hart's podcast, right? And he was talking about, they were talking about how R. Kelly got cool with somebody in prison, and he's been singing. He said he was saying, "I believe I can fly" in prison, and so the people was asking Kevin Hart. They was like, "Yo, Kev, if you was doing a bid, would you do stand-up comedy?" And Kevin Hart was like, "I would do stand-up comedy every day to save my butthole. I would do which one do you want to hear? Which show?"
I'm gonna do the whole show, every line.
He said, "I will do each show each time, no matter how many times." He said, "Of course, R. Kelly singing 'I Believe I Can Fly.' He don't want his butthole to fly." He's like, "I don't want that." I was cracking up. You hear me?
That's true, man.
But listen, I was gonna play that violin in that school for whoever, because I didn't want no smoke. But do you have anything else about that one too?
I just say that it's the access to it that I think is the issue for me. It's the how quickly we can get our hands on it. I would like that to be repaired. What's interesting right now, and like I saw Biden's speech.
Mm-hmm.
I see why we do it, but I hate when we politicize it immediately.
Yeah.
Like that was the only thing I disagree with Biden's speech last night. Like, let it be about what happened. Let it be about what, like, because I remember, like, I'm trying in my mind, I'm going back to remember when Obama was president and stuff, and the thing with Sandy Hook happened, and I don't remember him saying. He might have said a little bit. We need to do more, but he didn't harp on. Yeah, there's a bill right now, and this is why get them people out of office because they like it became really politicized last night, and that kind of bothered me. I didn't
even see it.
Yeah. Even though I'm agreeing with him, I'm still like it's not the right time. It's like like it's not the moment.
Yeah, like
and
like,
everyone else would know that.
It's too soon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's too soon to be trying to push a political party or anybody's opinion regarding that. But I think from a leadership perspective, it's a expectation like, okay, what is leadership going to do about this?
It's an election season.
Yeah,
I'm about to say it's election
season. You got this is your moment. Like,
yeah, you got to talk about it, but you don't need to talk about it that moment at that time and that day, in my opinion. So that was just not in good taste to talk about it so soon as
I think
he did.
The governor is up for election, and the Democratic governor Peter O. He's running for president. I forgot his name. I forgot his name. Peter O'Rourke. I think his name is Peter O'Rourke. He actually.
Yeah, you kept saying Pedo though.
I think his name is Pete. I think he's somebody, whatever it is.
Yeah.
He was at the governor was giving a speech today or yesterday. I think it was today, and he cut him off during the speech and approached them and said like you had the chance to do something. It was after Sandy Hook. Like I mean, he was like literally like they had to get the police there. Like he was like they was like you're out of line. You're out of line. He's like no, your laws are out of line. Like he just took a moment. Like literally in the middle of this press conference, and so that I'm just standing back, like Bammers have had Beto. Thank you, darling. It is Beto. Yeah, Bammers have listen. Bammers have had it with these dumb, stupid, gun laws that we know are only present because of the NRA and lobbyists. We get it. They're paying politicians. We get it. So we got to fix that because if you think they're gonna change anything. As a matter of fact, I think there's an NRA conference this weekend. Like there's a conference, and all of those Republicans are going to be there. Yeah, all of them.
Interesting. Yeah. It's something that we have to address, and like kind of to your point, I don't think it should have been addressed at that time. So to me, I would not have went there.
I was last thing I'll say is I was watching CNN last night, and one of the dads. His daughter was killed in the Florida high school shooting. I think it was a few years ago. And he was he was very, very poised. He had some great words, but they was asking him about Ted, what's his name, Ted Cruz, and so Anderson Cooper's like, so if you could talk to Ted Cruz right now, what would you say? Ted, he was just like, you need to resign. He's like, you just need to resign.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear no more goddamn moment of silence from you.
Yeah.
I just don't. And I remember him like this just because he's not a politician. It had it more weight for him.
Right.
Because he's not running for office. He's not like,
real. Yeah.
And he's just saying like, when I'm past it and I have moments where I can look at my daughter's picture and not be mortified and have these moments. Something like this happens and it's like, it takes me right back to it, like the minute that I got that phone call.
Yeah.
And like he's like, and so it's like basically I have to start all over again with the healing process, all because somebody else's child got murdered. Like, and it's just, I felt that. Like when he was talking, I felt that, like, and so it's just interesting.
So we're gonna jump right into the topic, and I think this is initial video kind of starts us off really nicely, and I want to use this video to launch the conversation real quick. Here we go. I'm gonna go back a little bit, and here we go.
Well, that's got nothing to do with the realities. You can feel however you want. I mean, I could sit here and say that I feel like a tomato plant, but that doesn't mean that I'm actually in those things. So your self-perception, you can have whatever self-perception you want, but you can't expect me to take part in that self-perception or to take part in this kind of charade, this theatrical production. You don't get your own pronouns, just like you don't get your own prepositions or your own adjectives. It's like if I were to tell you, my adjectives are handsome and brilliant, and whenever you're talking about me, you have to describe me as handsome and brilliant because that's how I identify. Makes no sense. You don't get your own pronouns. I think it's delusion. It could be a mental illness. It could be it's a lot of different things. With children, wow. There's also just a basic confusion that all kids have. When a 4-year-old boy comes to you and says, "Oh, I'm a girl," here's a good follow-up question. What is a girl? Mm-hmm. That's a question I would like to throw out to other members of the panel. Actually, because just like the 4-year-old can't answer what is a girl, well, this is one of the problems with this left-wing gender ideology is that no one who espouses it can even tell you what these words mean. It's like, what is a woman? Well, can you tell me what a woman is?
No, I can't. What do you define a woman as?
An adult human female. Here's the thing. When you're female, it goes right down to your bones, your DNA. So that's why if someone dies, we could dig up their bones 100 years from now. We have no idea what they believed in their head, but we can tell what sex they were because it's ingrained in every fiber of their being. I have answered the question. You stood up here and said trans women are women.
Yes.
Tell me what you mean. What is a woman?
Womanhood is something that, just as Ethan explained, I cannot define because I am not myself.
You used the word. So what did you mean when you said trans women are women if you don't know what it means?
Right. So here's the thing. So I do not define what a woman is because I do not identify as a woman. Womanhood is something that is an umbrella term. It includes people
that describes what?
People who identify as a woman.
Identify as what?
As a woman.
What is that?
Was to each their own. But
listen, you won't even tell me what the word means, though. So
you
want to
reduce women, you want to reduce men down to maybe just their genetics, our genitals, our chromosomes, right? That's what you're saying.
You want to do
that's
what you want to do is appropriate women. You want to appropriate womanhood, and turn it into basically a costume that could be worn. Well, that's
so very weighted beginning to this conversation. Of course,
I love it. Every time I see it, I love that conversation.
And so here's the thing, and I don't know how this will reverberate through the internet or whatever the case may be, but I do want to make sure I say we have to do a better job of being open to these dialogues and these conversations, even if you're offended, right? So like we got to do a better job of like, all right, I'm offended, but that doesn't mean we need to stop talking, or I'm offended, but that doesn't mean I don't need to hear your point, right? And so it kind of goes even deeper for me though, because I'm looking at even there's one more video that I want to add to this conversation before we actually have the conversation, and it's this one here.
The whole assigned at birth thing is a nonsensical argument, and this whole cis thing is a nonsensical argument.
A cisgender person is somebody who was born woman or man and identifies as woman or man.
No. You have men.
What time does this end?
Yeah. Oh, you in for a long night. But
I'm really not.
We don't listen, as men and women, we don't have to take on other people's terminologies for us, right? So if somebody's going to attempt to give a man a title as a man, I don't have to take a title. Don't tell me you're a cisgendered man. I'm a man. I don't need to take your title. So when people just throw out these terms like, oh, a cisgendered man, is like you are putting titles on people that don't even accept your titles. Like if I started to put a title upon you that you never accepted, I don't think that's fair. But the thing is, what I've noticed is with the quote unquote trans community, they feel as if they can give people titles, right, that they don't even accept themselves. And it's just like, I don't think that's fair, because that now says that your arrogance and your ego has got out of control, where you think you can now label somebody who doesn't even accept your title. I'm a man. I'm not a cisgendered man. I'm a man. Okay, it's really that simple. If you call yourself a woman, someone says, oh, Pearl, you're a cisgendered woman. Is that the title that you give yourself, or is that the title that they put upon you?
Yeah. No.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense, because it's like disrespectful to like.
Of course, to just label somebody.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it seems like it's okay when it comes to the trans community. They're allowed to label other people, whereas they've labeled themselves.
Yeah.
They've given themselves a title.
All right. What do you think?
Yeah, the lady had no energy for him, but that was another video that, to me, helped framed out the conversation, at least from some sense of like where I believe we've gotten to. The cisgender argument, apparently, from what I'm understanding about cisgender, is that it does mean you're just a male.
You identify with your born sex.
Right. So, but I like that the way he framed it, because just because you state that I am that doesn't mean I have to identify myself as that. And I think that differentiation is important, because I'm a male. You want to call me a cisgender because that's how you interpret it in your mind. That's fine. I don't have to answer to it. Right. I don't have to agree with it. And I think these are the things that are happening in culture that are framing out these conversations. But going back to that earlier video, it's the conversations of the pronouns, it's the conversation of the gender, it's the conversation what's a female, and that even goes back to when they were doing the Supreme Court justice that they were trying to ask her what's the woman, and she couldn't identify it.
Yeah.
So my question is very simple: what is going on, and what are we doing as it pertains to this conversation when it comes to the trans thing? And there is one more video I want to add. I don't know if you want me to do the video first, or do I want to speak to what's already been stated or shown?
Let's speak a little bit, and then we'll come back to it.
Hit
it. So question is, what's actually happening, right? Is that was your question? Is like, what are we doing in reference to the different titles when it comes to gender identification, things of the such. I liked the first video because the guy kind of broke it down in the sense of like biology, and in a sense, like that's my viewpoint. Like you were born a man and you were born a woman genetically. That's in your DNA. You can sit back and I guess put things within your genetics, or like take hormones and things like that to try to shift the tide in a way. But in all actuality, you were born as like that's how you were born. And I guess to kind of throw a wrench into it, I'm thinking about it now. What happens to those people that are, I guess, born without certain genital parts? What happens to those people that are don't fully develop? There are people out there that don't fully develop certain parts of their body, so that they are like, I guess in a sense viewed as, oh, I'm a man because I have a penis and testicles, or I'm a woman because I have ovaries and a vagina. There are some people that legit aren't born with those things or fully developed yet. So like, where do you go from there? And it's a tough question. I honestly, I'm not a biologist,
right?
And I'm kind of taking the stance of Supreme Court Justice, what's her name? I can't think of her name right now. The one that just
Terrence,
I know you're talking about. I know you're talking about. I can't think of her name, but I know you're talking about.
So the way she kind of took it was like, yo, I'm not a biologist, so I can't tell you what that is. Granted, I mean, I believe that conversation had nothing to do with like her becoming a judge. In my opinion, I don't think they should have even brought it up in the conversation.
Brown Jackson.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Katanji. I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm saying it right.
I hope we're not losing our black card because of this. But yeah.
We might. But go ahead.
Yeah, we might. Anyway, nonetheless, I don't understand why they even brought up the conversation anyway, while they were like interviewing her or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, like, I can't say what that is. I can only say like what a man and a woman is based off of what I've learned, based off of what I believe to be true according to, science and, the word of God. Right. So all of these things that I have developed in my head of like my understanding of what it is, that's what I'm gonna claim it to be. Now that we're approaching, I guess, as times are changing and people are being introduced to all these different things of how to consider themselves or view themselves and take on these different titles of like, what is a man and what is a woman, we're eventually not going to know what the heck it is to be a man or a woman. Like we're going to come up with all these different like titles, all these different adjectives or whatever to try to define what it is.
Right.
We're not going to know, man. We're not going to know. And I think it's an interesting space to be in as a people. We're approaching the brink of like confusion. Ain't nobody going to know what it is.
Okay. Any thoughts, T?
I will always say I hate the government's involvement this type of topics.
Mm-hmm.
That's always my stance, because how I see things as a Christian and as a faith counters how I view things as a United States citizen. And I always lean from I can always lean myself from both lenses, right? Which is kind of confusing, but it's not really. I just feel like I saw somebody write. I read a good post today. It was a British lady, and she was complaining about some things that she hates about America. And she's like, I don't understand how you guys have laws that are Christian, that are based on Christianity, but a majority of the people aren't Christian. That makes absolutely no sense. It's pretty much you're trying to govern counter to what the people you govern are. And so that's how I see it. And so the idea of I totally side with the idea of, from what I thought, a man was literally both based off of your chromosomes, and a woman's based off the chromosomes. End of the story, right? And there are certain people who are born with different type of formalities, whatever, so to speak. That's not what we're talking about when we talk about transgender. We're not even in that conversation. Yeah. Transgender is people who believe that they were born outside of what was their identified at birth, and they want to be the other type of sex. And faith-wise, I don't understand it. I never will understand it. I just won't. And the problem that I agree with what the guy said, the earlier guy said, is you don't have the right to make me accept it.
Mm-hmm.
What you have the right to do is choose not to be my friend because I would think this way. You have a right to choose not to want to work with me or whatever it is, because I might say I don't understand it, or I don't believe that it's true, or whatever it is. But what you don't have the right to do is to force me to think like you. You know. Now, I lead with this lens differently because I happen to work. I represent the government, right? And because I represent the government, I have the responsibility to make sure that people are treated equally. And so that's why I always say how I think religiously is different than how I think politically. I, in my job, have to make sure that I am treating everyone and everyone's rights are protected equally. And I actually often even believe that. I don't think somebody who's transgender, even though I don't think transgender is a real thing, whatever it is, I don't think that gives anybody the right to treat this person differently. Yeah. That's when, you would see me literally cross the line to side with them immediately. What you're not going to do is, just because you don't agree with how they choose to view themselves or whatever themselves, to now deny them a job, to now treat them funny, to now discriminate them. No, we're not doing that.
I hear that, but you're saying the other side of it though, T. And I'm sorry I did interrupt. So the other side of it is, though, do we push the narrative such that, all right, company structure wise, you are to associate or the way you talk to them or know them as from this point forward is their pronoun or whatever the case may be. And if you don't call them by their pronoun, or if you don't assimilate to this culture, then you could be reprimanded and or fired due to that. And even if it does not align with your religious beliefs, because you're talking about inclusion, inclusivity has to go both ways.
It does.
But it hasn't flushed out that way because it's seemingly the transgender wave has been more popularized over the last, I don't know, couple of years.
Mm-hmm. So but it does kind of go, see, I kind of see both sides of that, because it does kind of go back to respectively, the First Amendment. Congress makes no laws establishing a religion or providing you to be able to practice your religion thereof, right? And so there's court cases. This will all be decided in court cases, because as a company, I can't then, if by me, am I saying, because am I a Christian-based company and whatever it is, and I'm saying as a Christian-based company, I won't allow anyone who is transgender to work for my company, whatever it is. Am I, by me doing that, right? Or by the government making me hire them anyway, are they infringing upon my freedom of religion? I don't know if the cases will support that. And again, it will automatically go. I hate when black people don't see this argument, but coming from somebody who's taught government for years, that all they gotta do is bring back Brown versus the Board of Education, and we're gonna lose that battle. You're gonna lose that battle because the moment you treat somebody differently, you've already saying that they are inferior. The moment I choose not to honor this person's identity, I am saying that they're inferior. That may not have been the goal of Brown versus the Board of Education, because you're not going to sit and tell me that Thurgood Marshall and all of them like 60, 70, 80 years ago thought, we're going to fight this battle because we're hoping one day that people who choose to change their sex or change their race will one day get their freedoms back. That's not what they were going for. However, it's going to be used for that. And there's almost nothing we can do because it's all about interpretation. And the thing is that interpretation will change based on who's sitting in the Supreme Court. Right now it's 5-4. If you tend to lean more Republican than this, you're going to lose this gender war. Now, if it swings back to where there's more Republican judges in the office, then the interpretation is going to change. And so that's why I hate it, John. It's not because it's not about what I think. It's about the law. And the law will always be based off the interpretation of who is sitting in the Supreme Court. That's just the way it works. And if we don't like it, we got to move. I hear all that.
I think there's a way to have this conversation outside of the realm of government, because we're having to live this conversation in different corporations and different businesses. People are assimilating to a structure. We can agree with that. People are in a lot of spaces, in a lot of Zooms. They're having to say what their pronouns are, right? So I have to say I am he or him, even though I don't believe in stating that because I'm a man implicitly. I think that is, even to do that much is in some way integrating into a culture and something that I don't agree with.
I agree, and I agree, John, there, because what the same thing can be true for the other person. If you make me acknowledge your thing, if you put it like this, if you make me acknowledge what mine is for myself, and I don't have no, and then I somehow suffer some type of repercussions at my place of business because of that, I then now can file a lawsuit against you. You see what I'm saying? So it's like I don't see how you have the conversation because of where we live. This is all about government. It can't separate from government. It can't. I wish it could. I know I can't view it outside of anything that deals with government. I can't. And so I will say that I 100% agree. Like I said, me as a person, I don't understand the things that I look at is I see it as a huge equity issue. Somebody who was born with the XY chromosome as a man who happens to be much physically stronger, chooses to identify as a woman, and now he wants to compete in the WNBA. That's not fair. He's physically stronger. He is physically stronger than these women. Makes sense. And whenever we say, but a woman, shut up. It's the way it's the way that we are physically designed. That's just a natural known scientific fact, right? That there are certain things that and it's the same thing
in this world, facts aren't. Let's just be honest. Facts don't matter anymore in this world. Yeah. And I'm saying in this world of progression, it's no longer about the facts, because if we were talking about facts, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Wouldn't even be having this podcast episode, right?
Even down to the sense of the X and Y chromosome, factual fact of that, right?
They don't believe that that's true.
Yeah. So even going to that Terrence just said, they don't believe that that's true, and I'm not trying to find any jokingly way to transition this. The narrative of the they scenario. Because even when we're talking about education, right, and the scenario in which you're working within, and just in general, my child is going into education and now in a sense where she's going to have to learn pronouns. When you say they as a person and then they is also a group, the distinction and delineation that was originally, there was never a they back when we were growing up as a person.
They meant two people.
They meant two people always, right, or more. Yeah. And now it means a person. So it's the progression of it. We have to at least acknowledge the confusion that has been injected into our society when it comes to the word of they, and when it comes to the word of I'm a man, but I can identify as a she and a her. These are the things that are confusing, because if I were to categorize my BMW as a Toyota and take my BMW to a Toyota dealership and say, it identifies as a Toyota, now fix it, they would look at me like I am literally crazy. And it's not to oversimplify or joke about even the idea that this is the case, but I'm saying I'm trying to help draw the clear distinctions that should be obvious. That no, I can't identify as a white man because I'm black, and in fact that is a fact. I can't change that fact. I can also not identify as a 60-year-old man because I'm 36. So I can't make myself older. I can't make myself younger. I can't identify with those things. I am simply who I am factually. And until we start having at least the conversations with the people that think differently than us, without the, because we've gotten to a point now in our culture where if you think differently than us, you hate us. That's been the narrative,
and I hate that.
And I can't stand it.
And then it pushes for you to get canceled, like
right.
Yeah.
And then we cancel, and so that was to my earlier point, Mike, like you just said. So then you cancel the bag, right? So if I fumble the ball in any way, because right now it's been popularized that the transgender community or even the pronouns that we have to associate with the community, it's a big deal now. So if I don't assimilate to this new culture, then I either am somehow being a bigot, or I am against it, or I hate them, etc. There's no indifference, right? There's no sense of I don't want to go one way. I want to be impartial. I want to be neutral. There's no sense of that. You are either fully with that culture and assimilated to that culture, or you are against that culture. And in that realm, who can you know what I'm saying, go either direction? Who can live? So I just think it's interesting.
I wish I can find. We keep talking. I wish I could find it because I might find it. I think I loved his point. Who's the guy who hosts the Daily Show?
Trevor Noah.
Yeah. Trevor Noah's like response to that question was so dope. We talked about it. I think we talked about it before. He was just, like if I answer this way, there's 50% of the country who believes me. If I answer this way, there's 50% of the country who believes this. So either way I answer this, I'm going to get canceled by somebody, by some group, just because I answered this question. So right. I don't know he's like, so it was a great way for him to pivot answering the question, because they would pretty much ask him how he felt about transgender. And he just said, you want me to take a stance, but if I take a stance, no matter which way I take it, I'm pissing off some group of people. Right. And I love that point. And it's so funny because I'm hearing John talk. He's like, I was born, a black man. Were you? Because that's literally what we're challenging.
Yeah.
We're challenging, and I'm not even getting into the nitty gritty of the fact that race is a social construct, whatever. In general, it makes sense. Like it really is based off of where it's a social construct. Yeah. But the issue is in the socially we are choosing to be part of a society. It's like I want to be part of society, but I want to be part of all their rules. So I'm going to deny some major parts of their rules. And the major parts of their rules that I'm going to deny is that John is a black man. And so he's not a black man. He could be any race he wants. And there is it's not just a fake thing. It is a transracial is a real thing. People are changing their race.
Yeah. There's
people are literally paying money to change their race and identifying as a different race. Way before Rachel Dozier, and has gone way beyond Rachel Dozier.
Yeah. I remember seeing it was a social media post about like how I believe this white woman identified as being Asian.
Yes.
And I don't know if we kind of circled that within our text group or not, but yeah, she wanted to identify as Asian and believed herself to be Asian.
Oh yeah, we did talk about that. Yeah.
And the black woman responded was like, she doesn't believe that to be true, or like you can do that and not take on, I guess what's the term I'm looking for? Y'all help me out. It was something that she said where it was like taking on our struggle. Right. Yeah. Like you can't identify as that culture or that race and not take on like the struggles with that too. Right. So, with her or taking on, say if she wanted to become a black person, she can't take on the systemic racism and stuff like you can't embody that stuff that we go through either. Right. Yeah. The prejudiceness and stuff that we see within society all around. Like, forget the systemic stuff, but just in general, like we're walking down the street or whatever like that. If I end up in a majority white neighborhood, 9 times out of 10, like folks are going to look at me weird because I don't belong, right? Like, but you don't get a chance to like have to endure that, right? Because you can say that you're black, but you're really not. You don't. No, it's not possible, man. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's the issue that I'm being presented with, and that's what I wanted to talk about it, because I feel as though the world has decided for us that this narrative will be, preached from the rooftops, and I don't know why we haven't even had the conversation. I don't know why. I feel like we don't even want to talk about it. I feel like we don't even want to dive into it from any perspective, because we're just kind of like, man, I don't even want to go there for real right now, because we know how messy that can become of that conversation. So we just don't even want to have it. But it's what's interesting about it to me, right, is that somebody that I thought would not be, I guess, on my side about it is on my side about it. Here we go.
Transitioned, and people see this.
This is Caitlyn Jenner. Hold on. Let me go back.
There's so many things on YouTube on kids who have transitioned, and people see this. And it's become, right now, this issue has become so big. Almost every day on the news, there's something about being trans. That kind of bothers me, to be honest with you, for this reason. Being trans is about that much of the population. It is such a small group of people that are actually trans, who are really suffering with gender dysphoria. And right now, because of the amount of publicity that it's getting, it's like everybody thinks they're trans, which is not the case.
So as you can see,
really rude.
No, you said, can you say something really rude?
I just want him to shut the hell up.
The answer is no. The answer is no. You asked the question. You asked the question, and I answered your question.
I just don't. Just shut up. Just want him to shut up. Like, you won Woman of the Year. Shut up.
The first year you decided to be a woman.
Like,
no less. Mind you, women have been women all their life. They was like,
their whole life. Okay,
it was not.
Okay, cool. So here's what I want. I want to see a video of OJ talking about why murdering women is just so much political, so much stuff about that on right now. I want to see a video of Bill Cosby talking about drugging women to have sex. It's just getting so much political attention right now. I want to see about all these videos of these people who literally got famous or extra famous about the very topic, the very thing, and then you want to be a spokesperson. Like,
what's funny about that? I don't know if you guys saw the viral video where the guy was fighting the United Airlines person. Did y'all see that viral video?
Yes.
And Alec Baldwin commented on it and said, "I said, Alec, of all the people that should not be talking about workplace violence and some unfortunate accident happening in the workplace, you are absolutely the last person
just shut up."
Right. If shut up was a person, you would be the person that shut up would be. Right.
Like, it would be the image of Ike Turner coming out and speaking boldly against Chris Brown for Rihanna incident. Like, this is just these young people are out of hand.
I can't believe it. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And as I do agree with you, Terrence, I saw Caitlyn, in all of her herness, right?
Good job, John.
I did my best. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so what I will agree is, though, that this thing has become so popularized that everyone now has to funnel through whether they believe they're that thing too. Mm-hmm. Right. So whether it was never on their on the table for them, was nothing that they actually quite literally struggle with. It's more like, if I have any inkling that that's something that might be within my sphere of understanding and influence, I'm like, maybe I need to be, because apparently there's a lot of people that are going through deconstruction that were trans, changed, and then are deconstructing back because they're like, oh, I thought I was trans, and I'm actually really not. And so I'm like, and that's the dangers of the school systems kind of injecting these conversations and having these conversations at school. Not telling the parents that, hey, this is who this person identifies with at school, and they're not allowed to tell as a school. We're not allowed to let you know as a parent that that's the person what they identify as, and they're kind of spurring this entire thing forward, in my opinion, by you put it. It's annotated with everything: social media, TikTok, everywhere, on CNN, then in shows, TV shows now, etc.
Kids TV shows.
I
watched a cartoon the other day. Just watch a cartoon. I watch cartoons, whatever. And it's more of a adult centered cartoon in a way of like I think it's like a DC comic cartoon, right? But they start talking about things about like which are good topics to talk about, like depression and workplace violence, like stuff like that. They talk about these things, but they started to also talk about gender identification, right? And being transgender and all that other stuff. And I was just like, yo, like kids are watching this because it's a cartoon.
Yeah.
Right. Kids are watching this, and this is yet another platform that they're using to be able to. I'm trying not to go down the thought process of like agendas being pushed, but it's hard not to see it.
No,
right?
the agendas are definitely being pushed.
Yes,
I mean,
it's all over every, like you were saying, every type of media platform. It's on social media. It's on your TikTok, your Instagram. It's in your cartoons. It's in your commercials. It's in your movies. It's everywhere, man. And now, we have teachers even in the classrooms that are, presenting, lifestyles in a way of, not necessarily enforcing, but it's definitely bringing things to light where kids are so moldable at that time. Where
very impressionable.
Yeah, impressionable. They're of course,
and that's the problem.
Be on the uptick,
and that's the problem. Go ahead.
The curious thing is, the one thing I do agree, or I kind of see, just being an educator, right? I'm looking at like just the differences with my female students, right? Like just look at, and I see them from sixth to eighth grade, which is a very stage of just so many changes, right? If we're talking about like cycles with puberty, development, physical development, like etc. All these things, right? What I'm wondering is, or I'm curious about is this the result of society pushing what a woman should look like? So in other words, like, I'm literally having this thought right now, like live on the air, like it makes sense. So let me give you an example. Like, girls play with dolls, girls do this, girls wear pink, boys wear this, girls wear dresses, girls wear this, right? Yeah. And as kids get older, some of this stuff is just natural. Some girls are just, I'm still a girl, I just don't like wearing dresses. Like I'm a girl. I like wearing jeans. I like wearing pants. I like wearing, like, makes sense. I'm tomboyish, right?
Yeah,
I'm tomboyish, and that was a big thing. Even and like my generation, everybody knew they had the tomboy in the community, right? She a tomboy, still a girl, right? Like, makes sense. Like, whatever it is. The issue now is, as a young child, and I'm just asking, being impressionable, does it go from maybe I just wasn't supposed to be born a woman because of all the things that are images that are coming in, and now I want to make sense, and so now I want to I identify as something different.
Yeah,
but the pushback is, would we even have that in general if there wasn't so many other images pushing about that a woman only wears this? So now, because I'm only hearing a woman wears this and I don't want to wear that, then I'm not a woman. And a man only does this. And because I don't like that, and society is saying, well, a man, if you're not a man, if you don't like that. So now I'm like, you see what I'm saying?
That's a fair
Kids
point.
are really impressionable.
That's
and so now I'm even pulling back, like, some of this stuff is a backlash on just marketing of, this is women, this is men, instead of letting people just like what they like.
Let them be. Yeah.
And like, without any kind of outside pressure. The problem is we as society, we long to be accepted. It's like one of the, I can't think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, whatever it is, whatever it is.
Acceptance is one of them.
Acceptance, right?
Yeah.
So like I have guys, like I've had guys in my school who, I'm not even gonna lie, I thought he was gay. I just did. Like, makes it like, and he's adamant like I'm not, and he's getting into fights with the guys because he's just not accepted because he's not like them. He's not into sports. He's not makes sense or whatever it is. I'm like, oh, okay. But like I assumed you were. And so, but the thing is, John, I like what and John and Mike, what we're saying is the thing. I remember I had one of my closest students, and I'm not gonna say her name. One of my closest students, and she looked like a boy. You know, as a matter of fact, everybody thought she was a boy when they called her, when they would say her. Like, can you grab the boy right there? And I'm like, I realized quickly, I said, hey, that's not a boy, that's a girl, whatever it was, right? Yeah. And 6th grade year, she was really mad about it, right? And I'm going through all this equity training and all this training. And what I said is this is a moment to have this conversation with her. I said, okay, so what I want you to do is so do you recognize that you have how you're structured? She's like, yeah, I know I dress like a boy, whatever. Okay, got you. So here's what I want you to do. You have every right to correct them. Period. Like, nah, I'm a girl, etc. Right? But what I want you to do is to be open to have the conversation as to why the narrative of you is different. And instead of being so like frustrated about that people assume you are, right? Let's have the dialogue, right? Right?
Yeah.
And I remember I built this really strong relationship with. So by 8th grade year, she was so like, she's like, I'm not a boy, but thank you. She was so like, makes sense.
Matter of fact.
Yeah, it was a quick thing.
And
it didn't bother her
built,
anymore.
Built confidence too.
Yeah, right. and she owned it. And I I haven't seen her since. I mean, this was 3 years ago, but I just loved how she changed and was willing, make sense. And to be open that everybody does not have to like think how you think or see how you think, and they're gonna be wrong here. Allow them to be wrong and correct them. And be comfortable in that correction. Like,
I love a lot of what you said there, T, because I think the boxes that we create, like that, this is what makes you a man, this is what makes you a woman. To keep it in that tight knit box makes it difficult. And anytime you're outlier of that box, you start to think, oh well, I must not be, since I'm not this, I must be that. Yeah, because it's always either or, and there's no nuance to it at all, right? Like there's no
gray area,
right? There's no gray area, and there is gray area. Like there are men that cry, there are men that don't. There are men that would chop down trees, and there's some men that would sit there and just hug a bear. I don't know, like they're just there's a lot of nuance there and none of those things we allow in our culture, right? Like our culture, especially the Black culture, we don't allow no nuance at all. You are either 100% Black male and straight, or you're gay. Period. Yes. In our culture, right? Yeah. And we've actually had conversations amongst our team, amongst us three, saying, hey, we got to have that conversation amongst even gay Black men that we know that have had to come out to their parents and their community, and what's the feeling that goes behind that? Because although that person may be gay and may have found their truth or whatever, etc., there are people out there that are still locating their truth but still operating in a truth. They're locating a truth. They're like, man, I'm trying to find out who I am, but until I figure it out, I guess I'm gay. You understand what I'm saying? Because I know I'm not the main cube that they have as men or manly, quote unquote. So I know I'm not that. So I may be this, and they've accepted me over here, and that acceptance makes me feel like that might be what I am. Yeah. And so that identity piece. And so even as we're talking, I'm like, man, it's so interesting because I as I was going through life, I met most of you guys in college, most of the guys here on this podcast, and I think we kind of thought we were like maybe even in college, like, oh, I know who I am in college. I would dare say we kind of thought we knew who he was. Right. And I say thought because as a 36-year-old man, I'm realizing I'm just now really getting into, all right, this is really who Jon is, right? Like I'm really. And I know I can attest for Terrence because we've had a lot more conversation about this as of late. He, as a 40-year-old man, is like, I even really get into the core of who I am. Yeah. So I'm like, man, he's 40. I'm 36. I'm like, we're just now getting close to the identity of, and Mike, you can speak to this, of course. We haven't had as much dialogue, but like, is that true for you? Where are you at on that?
I've noticed that a lot more this year alone for me. Understanding who I am as a person, who I am as a man, as a Christian man, like in general, like my identity, right? Like we were saying, like I've noticed that more now. And I've even had those thoughts of like, yo, I thought I was doing it Like back in college, like I thought I had it together.
Absolutely.
Or even like directly after college in my 20s, like I thought I had it together, and I still didn't, man. It was I was missing so much, bro. Like, and sometimes it does take time to understand like who you really are and who you really want to become, right? Because right now we're living in a truth, like you were saying, but we're still trying to be the best that we are meant to be, or called to be, or at least what we believe we're meant to be and called to be.
Sure.
So right now, I'm good with where I am now, but I'm also open to where I am going to potentially become in the near future. Absolutely. Whether it's a year from now, whether it's 5 or 10 years from now, I'm not going to be the same guy 10 years from now that I am today. You know what I'm saying? So,
and
I love that. I hope we pick up this topic because what I just said it. Sometimes I didn't think about. I do hate having these topics or having a full-fledged conversation without somebody who identifies in that. You know, like as a part who is a part of that community. Like I know we like and the thing I love about this podcast is that normally when we start the podcast off with just us, like even if we talk about marriage and divorce, we're gonna go bring somebody who's divorced. You know, like we're gonna bring somebody who is that. And we talk about what it is like to date in the 2000 and whatever you want to say. Yeah. Okay, cool. It ain't us, so we're gonna go bring somebody who's to the conversation who is currently dating. That's you know,
if someone has who has walked a mile in those shoes, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And I would love to have this conversation with somebody who identifies. But the thing is, like, it has to be a conversation with like. We have these things, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but when we having courageous conversations, you know, accept non-closure, you know, like you have to be able to accept non-closure, you know, always identify local personal, immediate, you know, and expect discomfort, you know, and it's these agreements. And I like those agreements because they have worked even outside of my school. They've worked in conversations I've had with children, and different things to have courageous conversations. They require so much. And so I would love to have a conversation with someone in that community on the podcast to talk about, you know, a lot of things. Like let them lead. I don't give it's more than one, you know, just a good conversation because like, but they accept the understanding. Like, I would walk in saying that we don't necessarily maybe see eye to eye with them. And that's okay. That doesn't make me I'm your enemy.
Right.
And that's the thing. I just, it's difficult.
No, it's not. I mean, I think we have enough people in our sphere of influence where we can get some people on the podcast to talk about it. But I also think we didn't even know what we thought about it. So I think it is good to have a conversation about it and then see where we all kind of are, and then have another conversation and see where they are about it. Like it's a ever evolving thing. I love what you just said about the courageous conversations. T. Make sure you send that to me, please. I would love to know how to unpack that, because I think that's a good thing to just kind of bake into the pie. But when we talk about this idea, and when we're going to wrap up here, guys, we're getting a little lengthy, but I love what we're saying here. And the idea is we are growing, we are learning, we are evolving, like Patricia said. The thing about it that I think is beautiful about it is that is true. But what I find to be more beautiful about it is we have the ability, and I love T for this. Because T goes and he's doing what I would love to be doing, which is the mentorship part for younger people to know, breathe out and breathe back in and breathe out. It's okay. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to know who you are identity wise. Relax. Like, you got plenty of time. I just literally started turning the corner. And if there was more conversations that made people feel comfortable about who they were, I don't think it had to be such a big migration towards something that they were not. There wouldn't be so many deconstruction surgeries that are happening right now. But because we give no license for people to be free to figure it out, and we say you either are in this box or you're gay, or you're in this box and you're trans, or whatever the case may be, and not to bash any of those decisions, I'm simply saying we got to have conversations though, right? Even if somebody says, I'm trans, I'm gay, whatever. Well, what does that mean when you say you're gay? Why do you think you're gay? What feelings do you have that are associated to make you believe? Like, we got to go deeper than just praise it. Yeah, I'm glad you're living in your truth. Start clapping. Like, no, like, let's unpack. Like the guy was saying on one of the clips that we showed earlier, when a child says I'm a woman, well, what does it mean to say you're a woman? What does that mean to say you're trans? Or whatever. All these definitions that we are floating, and they're assumed like, oh, we assume that we all know and understand. We may not know, right? We didn't understand and have the same level of clarity. So I think what you're talking about, T, and bringing people on the show, that is something that we will more than likely absolutely do. But when we do, we have to, we're on the same page about this. And I know we aren't going to do this, but we as a community on this podcast agree, like, yo, we will be open-minded. We're going to listen. We're going to hear where this person is or people are or whatever they choose to identify themselves as. And we're going to be open to growing and learning in our own lives. And most importantly, as Christians, like I want to say this, as a Christian believer, we're not scared to have those conversations and we're not running for the hills and we're not thinking, we don't call you a bigot and a hater. Like, no, we actually care enough about you beyond your religion to have a conversation and get some clarity about things that we don't know about. So
yeah, it's about growth at the end of the day, man. And I also like Terrence's point in reference to like the conversation that you had with the young lady, right?
Yeah.
And it came from someone that is an elder, right? Somebody that is older than her, to be able to say, or at least portray in a way of like, yo, I didn't have it all together last year. You know what I'm saying? Like
this morning.
But being comfortable in the space that you're in now, enough to accept what it is now and also be, I guess, open to what you could become later on. I guess will allow those moments of kids being able to, or even adults, people in general, being able to like breathe in, breathe out.
Yeah.
This is like being content. We're good.
Right.
Like we're good right now in this moment. I'm excited for what's going to happen in the near future, but I don't have to have it all together right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. T, you got the last word. You good?
No, that's it. I'm gonna save it for when we close out.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so guys, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast today. We really appreciate it. And I do want to say this. If you guys are getting value from this, we would appreciate if you go to iTunes and just say that. Like, say you're getting value, say that you enjoy the show, say what you enjoy about the show. It does help us get higher credibility within the iTunes platform. Sure. And it also helps us to like know exactly what people think about the podcast, right? In addition to that, though, we do want to be a resource or a help to other people. So if you think that this adds value, send it to somebody else. It's as simple as literally a copy link and send it in the text message format to somebody else. Let them know, hey, man, this was some great, valuable information. There's this old guy on here to be talking about stuff, and that's T. Yeah, and then there's other people on there, you know what I mean, that talk about some valuable things that I think are pertinent towards your age group or demographic. We're a little bit older, right, than anybody that's like 18 or 14 or 12 or whatever. But I think the information that we're talking about is worthwhile to listen to. So please, 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 guys, send it to people that you know. I don't care about if we have 100 people on here, if we have 5 people on here. My thing is, as long as people are getting some valuable life lessons from this, I feel like that's what we're here to do as far as the Relentlessly Real podcast is concerned. So again, thank you guys so much. My name is John.
My name's Mike.
And I actually want John to play this clip because I really want to know what you all thought about this. I purposely wanted to leave with this. And I just want your reaction. John and Mike, I'm sending it to you. I want your reaction. I want you to play it. It's very important. I just dropped it in the chat, John. Just click it. And this is how I wanted to go out because I thought about this all week. And I wanted to know, Mike and John, just your thoughts about this. You should be scared, but this is a good way to end this podcast.
So I let a grown man give me an oil massage today. This is story time. All right, so here's the story. It's my birthday today, and because of that, my wife booked a massage. One for her, one for me. A couple's massage. It was supposed to be 2 women. But at the last minute, they hit us up and be like, hey, we only have a guy and a girl. Is that okay? And I was like, all right. So the whole time I'm driving down there, I'm trying to make the decision. She's like, hey, we can switch whatever you want to do, whatever's comfortable for you. And I'm driving, I'm thinking, all right, it's either I watch my wife get a deep tissue massage by a man or I get a deep tissue massage from a man. So since it's my birthday, I was like, hey, man, it's time to try something new. Let's go ahead and do it. So I decided, to go ahead and go with the guy and let her go with the woman. You know what I mean? And, everything was great. The dude was super professional. He did an amazing job. But y'all, So we lay down on the table, right? They say get undressed, to where you feel comfortable, get on the table. So I get on the table, got my underwear on, and she got, whatever she decides to lay on the table, right? Guy walks in, I hear click of the belt, right? All of a sudden, I hear him say, "Are you ready?" And I feel some hot oil squirt on my back. And I was like, "Oh, okay. All right, okay, I guess we're starting now." All right, so the whole time he's giving me the deep tissue, and every time he gets close, he's sitting there like, "That deep enough for you?" And he keeps squirting oil on me. And every time he goes in hard, you know what I'm saying? He's like, "Relax, little man. I got you. I'm trying to get this deep tissue."
No.
You can stop. What's fucking happening right now?
You can stop. So I was trying to save that for Would You Rather. But I want to pick that up next week with a Would You Rather, John. That's a great Would You Rather. So that's it.
Cut the tape.
Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for listening to Related to Real Podcast. We'll talk to y'all soon.